Okay, y'all, hold up. Stop for just a second. Okay, you might have seen the headlines. The CDC shortened your quarantine to just 5 days. Okay, let's dig into what those recommendations actually say, because those headlines are so misleading. Okay, so starting for if you test positive, that would be called an isolation. Okay, so if you test positive and at 5 days you have 0 symptoms, basically you're an asymptomatic positive, you never had symptoms at all, then at 5 days you can stop your isolation as long as you agree to wear your mask for the next 5 days. So basically you have to mask for 10 days. And so if you are asymptomatic at 5 days, you can change over to going back out and wearing a mask the entire time you're out or being around your family. If you have symptoms, your answer is 10 days, okay? And if you're still running fevers, the 24 hours prior to your 10 days being up, it's going to be longer. And that is for people who are normal, healthy people who are not immunocompromised, okay? So if you're immunocompromised, you're still out at the 20 days, okay? Now, let's talk about quarantine. Quarantine is when you've been around someone who has tested positive. So you've been within 6 feet of them for 15 minutes or more, or their household contact. Those people have been exposed, and so they need to go on quarantine. They have 2 different categories. If you are either unvaccinated or you have only received 1 Johnson & Johnson or 2 Moderna, and you were over 6 months out from your Moderna Pfizer mRNA vaccine, then you must quarantine for 5 days. Okay, wait. Yeah. Okay, so you are over 6 months out from your fully vaccinated status because you got an mRNA vaccine. You now have to quarantine for 5 days. Okay, if you were over 2 months out from your Johnson & Johnson vaccine, you have to quarantine for 5 days. At the end of that 5 days, it's recommended that you test, and if you are negative, you wear a mask for the next 5 days. So if you are unvaccinated or you're over 6 months out from Moderna or Pfizer or over 2 months out from Johnson & Johnson, it's all the same. You have to quarantine for 5 days, preferably test at the end of 5 days, and wear a mask for the next 5 days. If you are fully vaccinated, which means that you have had you have had both of your Moderna and Pfizer, and it has either been less than 6 months, so you're not eligible for a booster, or you've had your booster, and you have had Johnson & Johnson, and it's less than 2 months, or you've had a second shot of some sort. So basically, you are boosted. If you are vaccinated and you are boosted, then you don't have to quarantine, but you have to wear your mask for 10 full days and monitor your symptoms and isolate immediately if you get symptoms. Okay? So it's really misleading to say, oh, quarantine and isolation are shorter. No, in a way, for those of you that aren't boosted, they just made it harder. Okay, because previously, if you were fully vaccinated, we'd say, okay, you're fine. Just put on your mask, wear your mask, maybe test at day 5 to 7, just to make sure you're negative, and then you're good. Not anymore. If you are not boosted and it's been over 6 months for an mRNA vaccine and over 2 months since the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, it's almost like you're unvaccinated. And here's why. Okay, what they did is they did a study out of South Africa, which is where all of this kind of started, or at least where they started recording it. It didn't technically start in South Africa. And what they found is that the vaccine effectiveness against infection for 2 doses of an mRNA vaccine was 35%. Basically, it wasn't effective at all. If you got a booster, that restored effectiveness against getting an infection to 75%. Now, what is different, though, is that you're saying, okay, well, why did I even bother to get a vaccine? Well, you bothered to get a vaccine because it's still protecting you against hospitalization and severe disease. Okay, so here's the deal. If you've only had 2 vaccines, there's a decent chance you're going to get a breakthrough case of Omicron. Yeah, sorry. I don't like that either, but that's probably the case. There's still a 25% chance that you're going to get a breakthrough case even if you've been boosted. But if you've had your vaccines, then you're a lot less likely to end up hospitalized. You're a whole lot less likely to die from COVID. And that's what's really important. And that's the number that matters, okay? Because most of us, if we get sick, we'll probably recover. We may have some minimal effects. But if you die, we can't recover from that, okay? And that's what we don't want. So we still want you to get your vaccines. If you haven't gotten your booster, please get your booster. If you're over 2 months out from a Johnson & Johnson, you need another shot, whatever one you choose to get, please get one, okay? And recognize that these headlines are incorrect and or don't tell the whole story. And so if you have questions, talk with your doctor. We'll try to straighten it out. But trust me when I say that this is a little bit confusing for us too. So if you hear us stumbling and saying, I got to go check and look, it's because it changes almost on a daily basis at this point, and we have to go back and check and look to make sure we're saying the right thing. Okay. Y'all have a good day. Take care. Be safe. Talk to you later.